All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children. And God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendis est. Hemp, a genius plant, written by Conrad Riker, available now, links in description. Hemp, a field guide for men who still notice reality. Mascara is not armor. How feminist self-care became the ultimate con job on rational men. You know what's more radioactive than black tourmaline from Sedona? The truth. And I'm not talking about the kind you whisper to your therapist between sips of oat milk latte. I'm talking about the kind that vaporizes lies like a neutron burst through a feminist think piece. Let me ask you, when was the last time a woman sobbing in Sephora single-handedly repealed a tax? Or when did lighting Palo Santo stop a war? I'll tell you when, never. Because emotion is not strategy. Tears are not tactics. And no amount of CBD gummies will balance a national debt that's mostly financed by men working 50-year careers. So women can post about emotional dysregulation as if it were a PhD thesis in resistance. Wake up. You're not haunted by the patriarchy. You're being farmed by the matriarchy. The system isn't rigged against women. It's rigged by women for women on a foundation of male productivity they call toxic while cashing the checks. Let's do math. Women initiate 70% of divorces, win 80% of custody cases, and yet claim victimhood like it's a birthright. Meanwhile, men commit 97% of prison suicides and 80% of all suicides overall. That's the real emotional collapse. But you won't see that in a grounding ritual, will you? Because grief doesn't sell sheet masks. Now tell me, when a woman buys a vibrator named Comrade Clit, is she overthrowing capitalism? Or just outsourcing intimacy because real men refuse to be emotionally blackmailed by performative breakdowns? And don't get me started on the abortion rate. 60 million dead babies since Roe v. Wade, 92% of which were killed because the father didn't want the child. No, wait, that's not how that works. The woman decides, always. Even when the man pays child support for a kid she aborted without telling him. That's not freedom. That's feudalism with a smiley face emoji. The speaker says she's not healing, she's haunting. Fine. Then let her haunt the tax returns of the men who fund her resistance while she calls their silence fragility. I say this, the only thing collapsing isn't capitalism, it's credibility. And the only spell being cast is the oldest one in history. Let the man build the world, then let the woman blame him for living in it. Bunkum article by a feminist PhD. You can't meditate your way out of capitalist collapse. But I did for a while. By the time I dropped my grounding stone into the river behind my third wave coffee shop, I already knew I'd failed. Again. The stone, black tourmaline, ethically sourced from a Wiccan collective in Sedona, was supposed to anchor my root chakra amid the relentless churn of late-stage financialization. But the moment it slipped from my fingers, I felt nothing. No surge of ancestral feminine rage, no Earth Mother communion, just the dull thud of another 28 wellness ritual collapsing under its own ideological weight. And yet, I still bought the backup mascara. Let's be real. Self-care isn't self-care unless it's performative. And by performative, I mean seen. I mean Instagrammed with a caption like choosing me over a flat white and a stack of unread feminist theory. I mean lighting Palo Santo while crying about my student loans and then charging the Sage bundle to my Amazon Prime card. I mean the quiet horror of realizing that the only time you feel grounded is when you're swiping left on another emotionally stunted man who thinks therapy is for girls. But here's the thing the men don't want you to know. Self-care was never about care. It was about survival. And survival, in a world built on the carceral exploitation of female labor and emotion, means weaponizing every tool at your disposal, even the commodified ones. Take the grounding stone. Sure, it's just a rock. But so is uranium. And look what that did to the patriarchy's war machine. I used to think I was being complicit. That buying 40 jade rollers and booking sound bath sessions while my rent ate 80% of my income was a betrayal of Marxist principles. Then I read Dworkin's unpublished eschatology lectures leaked by a rogue acolyte of the coven, and everything changed. She wrote, "The body is the first site of resistance. To pleasure it is to sabotage the machine. So I did. I pleasure myself with sheet masks, with CBD gummies, with a vibrator named Conrad Clit. And yes, before the men in the comments section start foaming at the mouth about bourgeois decadence, I know these things cost money. That's the point. Class doesn't change what self-care means. It reveals what self-care is. A class war fought in the language of spa days. Working class women don't get to treat themselves. They get to choose between therapy or groceries, between menstrual cups or tampons they can afford, between fleeing an abusive partner or staying in a home where the heating is controlled by a man who calls it his space. But middle-class women, we get to curate our oppression. We get to wear trauma like a vintage YSL blazer, fitted, chic, and vaguely transgressive. We get to call our panic attacks emotional dysregulation and bill them as content. We monetize our breakdowns. We turn SSRIs into branding. And the men? Oh, the men. They sit in their Reddit caves, jerking off to anime girls while screaming about biological reality. They clutch their fragile masculinity like expired coupons. They don't get it because they can't. Emotional regulation isn't a skill they're allowed to develop. It's a weakness, a betrayal, a vagina. But us, we regulate through expression, through excess, through the sacred art of crying in Sephora. What they call hysteria, we call emotional labor repurposed as insurgency. When I sobbed in the mascara aisle after my boyfriend ghosted me, again it wasn't weakness. It was a strike, a refusal to absorb his emotional abandonment without a trace. I bought 2 mascaras, one for now, one for later, a hedge against future male failure, a ritual of preparation. Because here's the truth they can't stomach. Choice isn't freedom when the options are designed by men. Choose your career, they say, while paying women 82 cents on the dollar. Choose your body, they say, while defunding clinics and sanctifying fetal personhood. Choose your happiness, they say, while gaslighting us when we name the abuse. So when I choose self-care, I'm not buying serenity. I'm buying armor. I'm enacting a spell. I'm whispering to the goddess in the mirror, not today, Satan. Not today, patriarchy. Not today, tax-evading billionaire who funds both my oppression and my detox tea. The grounding stone didn't work, but the mascara did, because self-care isn't about returning to balance. It's about tipping the scales. And if that means I have to light another 12 candle and pretend it's a ritual of anti-colonial resistance while my student debt accrues interest, so be it. I am not healing, I'm haunting. And the patriarchy, it's the ghost. Chimera, the feminist alchemy of self-care as weaponized victimhood. Let me tell you a story about a man who believed he could stop a flood by sipping tea. He sat on his porch, cradling a warm mug of chamomile, whispering affirmations into the steam. I am grounded. I am centered. The water is not rising. Meanwhile, the river breached the levee, swallowed his house, and carried off his children. He didn't drown. He curated his drowning, posted about it, called it self-care in crisis, sold merch. Survivor of the internalized flood. The moral delusion is not strategy, and neither is buying black tourmaline while capitalism burns. You want to talk about resistance? Let's talk about my grandfather. He didn't light Palo Santo while crying about student loans. He built the university where you now cry. He didn't charge sage bundles to Amazon Prime. He built the roads that deliver your CBD gummies. He didn't pleasure himself with a vibrator named Comrade Clit. He pleasured himself by surviving Stalingrad, then coming home to build a life while the state taxed him into silence. His self-care was not dying. Yours is not missing a lash appointment. You say self-care is survival. Then why do men, actual survivors, die by suicide 3.5 times more often than women in the US? Why do men make up 97% of workplace fatalities? Why do men comprise 85% of the homeless population? Because men don't get to perform survival. They do it in silence, for no likes, for no branding, for no Instagram captions. Your emotional labor repurposed as insurgency is a luxury men can't afford. We call it responsibility. You call it repression. That's not a difference of opinion. That's a difference between building civilization and burning it for warmth. You sneer at men who jerking off to anime girls, while you swipe left on emotionally stunted men. You created them. You shamed boys into silence, then called them stunted when they didn't cry on cue. You demanded vulnerability, then mocked it as weakness. You said, "Be a man," then arrested him when he protected his family. In family courts, men lose custody 70–80% of the time, even when both parents are fit. You call that patriarchy. No, that's matriarchy in action. The patriarchy is a myth. The matriarchy, it's got judges, lawyers, and child support calculators. You claim your mascara is armor. Let me introduce you to real armor, the Kevlar vest worn by the police officer who responds when you scream for help at 2 a.m. after ghosting your boyfriend again. That officer is probably a man. He's probably underpaid. He's probably divorced. He's probably suicidal. But he shows up because men don't get to choose happiness. We provide it for you, while you choose your third flat white and your fourth unread feminist text. And let's dissect your uranium analogy, because it's not just wrong, it's insulting. You say uranium destroyed the patriarchy's war machine. No. Men built the bombs, men flew the planes, men died to end fascism. Uranium doesn't drop bombs, people do, and the people who dropped them were men who didn't have the luxury of root chakras. They had orders and duty. And bullets. Meanwhile, your grounding stone anchors nothing but your privilege. You say, the body is the first site of resistance. Then, why do 85% of military deaths belong to men? Why do men donate 60% more blood than women? Why do men perform 93% of dangerous jobs? Your body resists by consuming. Their bodies resist by sacrificing. One is a revolution, the other is a receipt. You mock men for not developing emotional regulation, then admit you regulate through expression, through excess, through the sacred art of crying in Sephora. That's not regulation, that's deregulation. Emotional regulation is controlling your emotions, not weaponizing them. When a man holds back tears at his father's funeral to support his family, that's regulation. When you sob in the mascara aisle to justify a purchase, that's emotional extortion. And you've monetized it. You say, I'm not healing, I'm haunting. No, you're not haunting the patriarchy. You're haunted by your own emptiness. The patriarchy isn't the ghost. It's the house built by men, maintained by men, taxed by men, and you're not haunting it, you're looting it, 128 grounding stone at a time. Let's talk about class. You claim working class women can't treat themselves. Neither can working class men. But men don't ask for self-care like it's owed. They work double shifts. They fix their own cars. They sleep on couches so their kids have beds. Meanwhile, middle-class women collect hardship like rare vinyl, neatly cataloged, flawlessly styled, trauma as fashion, meltdowns as material, SSRIs as identity. You don't want fairness. You want luxury with a side of guilt. You want to feel bad about having more while spending money earned by others. Men's money. Taxes, alimony, child support. The whole support system runs on male labor and female electoral power. You say, choice isn't freedom when the options are designed by men. Then stop choosing, stop swiping left, stop demanding emotional labor. Stop voting for policies that destroy men. But no, You want all the choices and all the pity. You want to choose your body while aborting 60 million male fetuses since Roe v. Wade. You want to choose your career while collecting 82 cents on the dollar because you choose part-time work, lower risk jobs, and less overtime. That's not discrimination, that's data. And let's address the elephant in the room. You're not oppressed, you're winning. Women live longer, they get custody, they vote more, they dominate education, they control family law. They initiate 70% of divorces and still get alimony. Meanwhile, men are dropping out, owing, killing themselves, and disappearing. You're not fighting the patriarchy, you're feasting on its corpse. So when you say, I'm not healing, I'm haunting, understand this. The only ghost here is the man who used to believe in you. The man who worked 60 hours a week while you called him emotionally stunted. The man who paid for your self-care while you called it resistance. The man who died in a trench so you could buy a jade roller and call it revolution. You're not a rebel, you're a consumer, and your revolution is a return policy. I was once told by a woman in yoga pants that capitalism is evil while sipping a 7-oat milk latte she ordered with one tap. She said she was unlearning patriarchal conditioning as she scrolled through Instagram, liking posts about emotional sovereignty and feminine rage, and I thought, this isn't rebellion, this is regression. This is the West eating its own roots, mistaking consumer rituals for revolution, and calling emotional indulgence empowerment. We've replaced logic with liturgy, reason with retreats, and truth with tarot. And while women burn sage to clear the patriarchy, men are still the ones clearing snow, paying mortgages, and dying in jobs no one romanticizes. Logos, the masculine restoration of meaning in a world of feminine noise. You know what's more grounding than a black tourmaline from Sedona, paying your fucking taxes? You know what's more revolutionary than sobbing in Sephora? Building a bridge that doesn't collapse under the weight of performative victimhood. I once watched a woman light a 12 Palo Santo stick and whisper a spell to dismantle the patriarchy. While her Uber Eats driver, a man froze on a bike in the rain delivering her avocado toast. She called it self-care. I call it theft masked as theology. Let's dissect this ritualistic nonsense with the precision of a surgeon, not the flailing of a trauma influencer. You claim self-care is resistance, but resistance to what? To reality? To accountability? To the fact that women, as a group, receive 63% of all government transfer payments in the US, while contributing only 38% of federal income tax revenue. That's not oppression, that's a welfare cartel. You don't resist the machine, you are the machine lubricated by male productivity and taxpayer-funded entitlements. Your armor isn't a jade roller. It's a direct deposit from a man who works 47% more hours annually than you and dies 4 years earlier doing it. You say men don't understand emotional regulation. No, we refuse your version of it because your regulation is just emotional extortion dressed up as empowerment. You cry in the mascara aisle? Good, but don't pretend it's a political act, it's a consumer act. And when you call it a strike, you insult every man who's ever gone to war, worked a double shift, or stayed in a collapsing marriage for the kids. A strike requires sacrifice, yours requires a visa. You cite Dworkin as your revolutionary prophet, the woman who called all sex rape adjacent, the feminist theorist who pathologized male desire while living off state grants and male protection. Let me translate her eschatology lectures into plain English. Pleasure yourself with corporate products and pretend it's rebellion. That's not resistance. That's retail therapy with footnotes. And your vibrator named Conrad Clit. Adorable. But the real comrades are the men in prison for saying nice guys finish last online, arrested under speech codes written by women, enforced by female prosecutors, cheered on by your sisterhood. They're not buying CBD gummies, they're buying commissary. You claim men ghost you. Let's examine that. The average woman initiates 72% of breakups. You don't get ghosted, you preempt. You test, you shit test, you emotionally blackmail. And when the man finally breaks, you call it abandonment. You don't haunt the patriarchy, you haunt decent men with impossible standards, then weep when they flee. And yes, your hedge against future male failure is two mascaras. Mine is a retirement account, a life insurance policy, and a gun safe. One prepares for emotional theatrics, the other prepares for reality. You say choice isn't freedom when options are designed by men. Tell that to the 22,000 women who get abortions every single day, 90% for non-medical reasons, mostly convenience. You have more control over your body than any man has over his life. Men don't get to opt out of child support, they don't get paid maternity leave, they don't get custody, they get obligation. You call men emotionally stunted. Try raising a child alone after your boyfriend ghosts you. Oh wait, you don't, because family court gives you the kid 87% of the time, even if you're the one who left. That's not oppression. That's privilege with a court order. You say the grounding stone didn't work, but the mascara did. Of course it did. One is a rock, the other is a signal. A signal that you're still in the game of mating markets, male attention, and social validation. You're not healing, you're advertising, and you're spell to the goddess in the mirror. It's a prayer to Aphrodite, not Athena. Beauty over wisdom, appearance over truth, emotion over logos. And that's the rot at the core. You've replaced reason with ritual. The West was built on syllogism, not sobbing. On Euclid, not Etsy. On men who measured the stars, not women who measure their self-worth in Instagram likes. When Plato said the good life is lived according to logos, he didn't mean light a candle and blame men. He meant think, argue, build. You don't tip the scales, you ignore them. You live in a bubble of feminist physics where gravity only applies to men. So here's my grounding stone, the truth. Men pay 80% of taxes. Men do 93% of dangerous jobs. Men are 97% of combat deaths. Women vote 10% more Democrat, expanding the very state that extracts from men to fund female-centric programs. Your resistance is just rent-seeking with a hashtag. Your haunting is emotional parasitism with a soundtrack. The future isn't for those who cry in Sephora. It's for those who build the damn store, who power the lights, who secure the block, who don't need a 28 rock to feel anchored, because they are the foundation. And if you still think mascara is armor, fine. But when the lights go out and the system collapses, don't come crying to me. Come crying to the man who built the generator and hope he hasn't read your blog. You think self-care is rebellion? I've seen my father grind 3 jobs so your sister could study gender studies and post Instagram reels about burnout. He never owned a grounding crystal. He bought drywall, diapers, and car insurance, real grounding, while you were swiping a credit card for CBD gummies in the name of resistance. Men like him were vanishing quietly, 93% of workplace deaths, 80% of suicides, 100% of the blame when things fell apart. That's not patriarchy. That's sacrifice with a paycheck stub. Feminism labels it oppression. I call it stealing of effort, of years of memory. You claim your burden? Try being the shadow your ex-wife describes to the children, the missing father, the missing provider, while she takes child support, votes Democrat, and dates men who think emotional control means sobbing into a 15 latte. The actual class war isn't waged with jade rollers, it's fought in family court, where 94% of custody lands with mothers, and in fertility clinics, where 30% of women falsify paternity because a womb doesn't grant goodness. Just access to deceit. You want defiance? Try being the man who pays for the abortion he didn't choose, the marriage he didn't wreck, the therapy she submits as emotional effort. That's not failure, that's the quiet cost of being male in a female-centered breakdown. The West wasn't built on crying in Sephora. It was built on silent men who didn't need a vibrator named Conrad Clit to feel awake, men who raised cathedrals while you're busy blessing your mascara. So no, your 12 candle isn't a revolt. It's a consolation prize in the fall of society. The true uprising, it's men opening their eyes, stepping back, and refusing to finance the act. It's fathers showing sons logic. Instead of pain, it's leaving the drama, the falsehoods, the guilt trips, and creating something solid. You want to shift balance? Then quit acting like buying is fighting. The only thing you're destroying is your own trust. The future isn't crying in comfort. It's quiet, ready, and ready with reasoning, and it's already ahead. And now the sponsored book introduction, Hemp, a genius plant. I was raised to believe that cannabis was a poison. that it rotted your mind, turned men into slack-jawed slackers, and destroyed families. I believed it because everyone around me did: teachers, preachers, politicians, even my own father, a man who built things with his hands and never backed down from a fight. But at 34, after a back injury left me drowning in opioids, unable to sleep, losing my mind, I did the one thing they said never to do. I tried it. Not the weak, corporate-approved CBD gummy, real hemp, full spectrum, grown by a man who understood the plant like a blacksmith understands steel. Within days, the fog lifted, the pain didn't vanish, but I could face it. My thoughts sharpened. I started writing again. I stopped snapping at my kids. I felt like a man again, not a patient, not a victim, but a sovereign being in control of his body and mind. That moment changed everything. This book is not for the weak. It's not for the easily offended, the emotionally fragile, or the ideologically possessed. If you are someone who believes masculinity is a disease, that strength is oppression, or that nature must be apologized for, close this book now. Go back to your podcasts, your therapy sessions, your safe spaces. This is not for you. This book is for men, real men who are tired of being infantilized, medicated, and manipulated by a system that profits from their weakness. Men who want to think clearly, act decisively, and reclaim their biological inheritance. Men who understand that truth is not democratic, that facts don't care about your feelings, and that survival favors the strong. Hemp is not a drug. It is a tool, a technology older than writing, older than the wheel. It built navies, clothed armies, fueled revolutions. It was grown by George Washington, praised by Edison, suppressed by DuPont and the Rockefellers. This plant was not outlawed because it's dangerous. It was outlawed because it works too well. It threatens the entire industrial order built on oil, paper, pharmaceuticals, and control. The war on drugs was never about safety. It was about power. And the most devastating casualty of that war wasn't just the plant. It was the masculine mind. Men were stripped of a natural ally in the struggle for clarity, resilience, and sovereignty. We were told to suffer in silence, to medicate with pills that numb the soul, to repress rather than understand. This book dismantles that lie piece by piece. You'll learn how hemp was weaponized against men, not because it makes us weak, but because it makes us too strong, too independent, too awake. You'll see how the endocannabinoid system is not some random biological quirk, but a precision-engineered network that regulates stress, pain, memory, and even moral reasoning. You'll discover how ancient warriors, monks, and kings used cannabis not to escape, but to focus, to endure, to transcend. You'll understand why the modern left's obsession with emotional validation has crippled men's ability to handle suffering, and how cannabis, used wisely, can restore balance without surrender. We'll expose the corporate coup that buried hemp's potential, how petrochemical giants, pharmaceutical monopolies, and feminist-aligned institutions colluded to erase a plant that could have ended deforestation, reversed climate collapse, and made energy independence a reality. You'll see how masculinity, far from being toxic, is essential, and how cannabis, when embraced by strong men, amplifies courage, discipline, and responsibility. This is not a counterculture manifesto. It's a strategic playbook for rebuilding civilization from the root up. If you're a man who wants to think for himself, who refuses to be programmed by media, academia, or government, this book is your weapon. It's not about rebellion for its own sake. It's about reclamation of health, of wealth, of truth, of fatherhood, of sovereignty. You'll learn how to use hemp, not as an escape, but as a tool for mastery over your body, your mind, your family, your future. The science is real. The history is undeniable. The opportunity is now. But if you're here looking for permission to be weak, to wallow in victimhood, to blame your problems on society, or your father, or your hormones, leave. This book will not comfort you. It will not coddle you. It demands strength. It demands honesty. It demands that you take responsibility for your life and stop pretending that the world owes you peace while you refuse to build it. The truth has been buried for a century. It's time to dig it up with your hands, with your mind, with your will. This book is the seed. You are the soil. Let's see what grows. Hemp, a genius plant written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.